Now, we have a friend with us here on the sofa, Dr. Nighat Arif, familiar face to our regular breakfast viewers, often joining us to offer wise advice on a range of issues, very wide range of issues.
I don't know wise, but definitely a wide range of issues.
But one of your specialisms is women's health, isn't
Yes.
it? And now you've written it all down, not just sharing it with us on breakfast.
And drawn the pictures.
And drawn the pictures. The pictures are drawn by this lovely illustrator called Liliana. And so the book is called The Knowledge, Your Guide to Female Health from Menstruation to Menopause. And it literally, what it says on the tin, it's from the start of your period right through. And it's written in a very lay form. I had lots of editorial meetings about the fact that I wanted this to be accessible. So a 14, 15-year-old could pick up this book, learn about puberty and the changes that happen there, and then all the way to menopause. So it's literally a book that a daughter could read, a mother could read, and a grandmother, all in the same household, same 3 generations, and have those conversations about women's health, which are still taboo. And
that's one of the really interesting things about it, because it breaks down those age barriers, doesn't it? Because I think previously, probably, teenage girls probably could find something that they'd been given that they could read. Older women could find something that they'd be given. But actually, you know, hopefully for women, it's a journey that we will all go on, go all the way through. So it's important that we all know what's happening at different stages.
Absolutely, and it's important that men are involved in the conversation. So there's bits for dads in there. There's also bits for same-sex couples in there who are trying for a baby. There's bits about trans health. It's literally a sprinkling of my 15 years as an NHS GP put into a book, and it took me a year to write. So it's got my heart and soul into it.
And when you've put everything into it, like you have, and I know you always do, don't you? You really give of yourself. What does that feel like to know that it's there in a book for people to read and judge, I suppose?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm more scared about my contemporaries seeing it, but my contemporaries have been absolutely lovely. Professor Joyce Harper had a look at it. I've got Dame Leslie Regan, who's had a look at it as well, and my other colleagues like Dr. Philippa Kay. So it's really nice when colleagues are saying, oh, God, I wish I had this when I was younger. And that's really lovely. And that's what I wanted. Because when I was like 9 years old, Nighat, who came to the UK, any books that I saw with periods were either patronising to young people or they were sort of doodles. And this has got real life illustrations. And I never saw me in there. So I never saw pictures of women of colour. So this book has got the first illustration of what vulval lichen sclerosis looks like on women of colour, and it's a sprinkling for women of faith as well. So how do you deal with HRT patches in Ramadan? So I answer real-life practical things that I do in my surgery, and I hope you like it.
You also talk about things that people might be like a bit squeamish about or embarrassed to talk about, and you break down all of those barriers. And you're able to do that in a really normal, down-to-earth way. How important is it that people can talk about stuff that is uncomfortable?
It's really important that we do that. So you guys remember in the pandemic, I was on here almost on a weekly basis trying to talk about really difficult things. And also, these are real lives and people's lived-in experiences need to be reflected. And my years as a GP will never equate to someone who's living with that condition. And that requires a level of care and empathy. And I see that in my clinics as well. So what I did was I started making TikToks, as you do in the pandemic, and they just went viral. So I'm talking about menopause, vaginal atrophy. I'm talking about endometriosis, adenomyosis, something very little known about. And women were saying, oh, my goodness, I think now I have the language to be able to go and speak to my GP. Because if you don't have the lexicon, how do you communicate that?
And do you see that in the women coming through the door to have appointments? Are they now more willing, prepared to come and talk to a doctor and to talk about this?
Oh, my goodness, like, the BBC Breakfast team have started that. I mean, we started with Louise Minchin with Wake Up to the Menopause campaign, and we've had lots of conversations here as well. We've got men involved, and so it's not just women coming, it's their partners and their dads and sons are coming with their mothers as well. And I think this is the thing, because if a woman is well, the household is well. If the household is well, the economy does really well. So I believe completely it starts with good women's health for any society.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because we now talk a lot about the menopause. One thing I think that sometimes we don't talk about always that honestly is perhaps postpartum issues. Sometimes that's still, you know, women still try and put like a brave face on difficulties that they might have after having a baby. And I know something we've spoken to you recently about is vaginal mesh.
Yes.
Which I know is controversial and is complicated, doesn't work for everybody.
Absolutely. And when we have things like prolapses, vaginal prolapses, it always comes down to lifestyle, education, being able to understand what the treatment options are there. the surgical options as well. The vaginal mesh is very controversial. It's under review. It's caused some horrific symptoms. I can't remember the last time. It's been years and years, I think, since I've even sent for a patient to consider a vaginal mesh. I actually try and do things like vaginal pessaries or pelvic floor exercises. So I think that the women that are affected by that, there's an ongoing investigation, but it's something that we do need to look at how to manage prolapse. And there's a new inquiry that's been started by the RCOG to make sure that we are looking after postpartum care much in a proper way, and not just worry about the pregnancy, but what happens after the pregnancy.
And just to finish with, I mean, how is life as a GP right now? And we've had all those delays, the waiting list, the challenges for right across the NHS. Are we beginning to see progress?
So, you know, I've always been like heart on my sleeve, telling you exactly how it is. Life is really busy. I've taken leave to come and do this week, so it's my holiday. But the reason I love so much what I do is because it's about education. I can reach lots and lots more patients. And so now I think general practice has evolved. Social media plays a huge part. The role of mainstream media plays a huge part as well. And hopefully my book, you know, the knowledge will be part of that conversation. But also what we're finding now is that GPs, we need to be looking at the way that we're working, because we do have burnout, we have stress, we have a lot of work, we have a huge waiting list, and secondary care, we've got strikes from junior doctors as well, rightly so. So there's a lot that's going on at the moment. I'm trying to stay positive, because I always think that if I lose my smile, then things aren't going well. And I'm trying to keep that smile for as long as possible.
We love seeing your smile. We love seeing your smile and your insight as ever. Thank you so much, Dr. Nighat, for coming in.
And Nighat's book, The Knowledge, Your Guide to Female Health from Menstruation to the Menopause, is out tomorrow.
It's coming up to 8 o'clock. We've got the headlines coming up for you. We're also going to